So it has been a week since I've been using the Galaxy Z Flip4 as my daily driver. I'm so loving the improvements Samsung has made over the previous model, which I can finally call this an everyday device. But to those who has been holding their back on their purchase on their first foldable phone or still holding strong on the Z Flip 3, should you finally buy one? This is the Galaxy Z Flip4 full review. While reviewing the Z Flip4, I have personally placed an order of the 256GB Z Flip4 with Samsung because this is a loan unit from the company which I will have to return really soon, as I intend to do a long-term review on it and also believe that it is going to serve me very well in several ways. So definitely stay subscribed to the channel if you haven't and follow our social channels as well. So let's start off with the build quality improvements. The Z Flip4 might resemble its predecessor, but that doesn't mean it feels the same when you hold it on hand. The frame now feels more premium with a polished aluminum finish, the hinges are slightly slimmer, and opening the phone now feels a lot smoother than before. Though I'm still looking forward to the day where we can just press a power button and it opens and closes automatically, as you still require two hands to do this. Now, the Z Flip4 continues to be IPX8 rated water resistant, and you will still need to be careful of dust and debris, which is one thing that can really kill the hinges and possibly the ultra thin glass inside the phone if you aren't careful. But in the case of accidental bumps and bends, the Z Flip4 is still protected by Samsung's very own armor aluminum, which actually saved me a few times when I accidentally dropped it about 2 feet from the table, of course, not like this. So the Z Flip4's display is still the same beautiful 6.7-inch dynamic AMOLED 2X panel that refreshes at 120Hz with excellent outdoor brightness and viewing angles. Though sadly, you will still notice the crease in the middle, but I also find it to be slightly thinner than the Z Flip 3. The stereo loudspeakers also sound about the same with good volume and bass. Powering the Z Flip4 is the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 processor, which is probably the biggest improvement over the Z Flip 3 Snapdragon 888, and it is also a much better chipset that you would find on the S22. The Z Flip4 performs so much smoother and more efficient than its predecessor that I didn't detect any lags despite only having 8GB of RAM. It also doesn't heat up quite as often when I'm using it moderately for checking my social feeds and web browsing. The top part of the phone gets reasonably warm during games, which I don't find uncomfortable to hold. Speaking of gaming, the Z Flip4 is very capable if you don't mind the crease in the middle of the screen. And when I mean capable, it isn't just about the performance but also power efficiency. I was very surprised with the power drain as I merely detected a 5% drop in battery after 10 minutes in Genshin Impact, which of course you shouldn't compare with phones that has larger battery capacities. But the slight battery capacity increase over the Z Flip 3 and more efficient processor does make a big difference. Now, let's talk about software. The Z Flip4 ships with One UI 4.1 on top of Android 12, which overall feels quite the same with the S22 in terms of general usability. But on the flex side of things, no pun intended, the Z Flip4 has a few software tricks that's worth mentioning. My favorite would be the improved split screen feature, which I can simply just swipe 2 fingers from the bottom to have 2 apps open at the same time, and I can save the pair of apps to my home screen as a shortcut if I want to have that set up again. I can also make the app pop up as a floating window and have 2 of them minimized. Like its predecessor, the Z Flip4 has certain apps being optimized to be shown on the top part of the display when you fold it up. But this round, Samsung has added a new Flex Mode touchpad, which essentially lets you use the bottom part of the screen like a laptop trackpad to scroll web pages and social feeds. It can be useful if you want a more comfortable viewing angle while working on something instead of looking straight down on a flat angle. But I barely use it as I find the tracking and gestures not as precise and I could navigate around faster by just touching the screen. When it comes to the cover screen, the Z Flip4's clock can now show videos on top of the usual set of animated backgrounds, and it remains just as customizable as before. You can also finally reply to incoming WhatsApp messages with templates or by using your speech-to-text, which works very well for me. There is also a new contact widget that lets you set up to 3 favorite contacts and call them directly from the cover screen with the loudspeaker turned on. And finally, my favorite is the flex camera, which you can finally take photos in the 4:3 aspect ratio using either the main or ultra-wide camera, and you can even double tap on the cover screen to view the full live view screen instead of a crop view. You can even take landscape photos and videos by just turning the phone in landscape, though this 2-inch display is still really small to notice anything unusual on your shots, but it is nonetheless a huge experience improvement. The Z Flip4 maintains a dual 12-megapixel camera array with a wide and ultra-wide camera in service. Samsung has increased the sensor size of the main sensor that promises better low-light performance, and I can definitely testify that in this food shot I took. It was a restaurant with a dimly lit yellow lighting, and the camera was able to take really good looking photos with excellent colors, detail, and low noise levels. As for outdoor shots, the Z Flip4's cameras take very favorable looking photos with popping colors just like what you would expect from a Samsung flagship phone. Even the ultra-wide sensor has very impressive dynamic range with very minimal distortion and no soft focusing issues. This is definitely an A+ camera experience you would get on a foldable device. The front 10-megapixel camera is pretty good for selfies if you still prefer that instead of using the main camera. In terms of video recording, there is no 8K video recording like you get on the S22 Ultra, but you do get up to 4K 60 frames per second on both the 12-megapixel and front-facing 10-megapixel cameras. The ultra-wide camera is limited to 4K 30 frames per second, which I think is a shame, but not a deal breaker. On a plus point, this is an excellent short-form video camera as Samsung has optimized apps like Instagram to support the flex mode camera when you fold up the phone. But this feature hasn't reached TikTok at this point of time, and I think TikTokers are going to love it when the update arrives. Now, I already mentioned how good the Z Flip4's power efficiency is when it comes to gaming, and despite that larger 3700 mAh battery, the Z Flip4 is still going to require a charge daily when I end my day with a 3.5-hour screen on time. I usually unplug it with a 100% battery level at 8 AM, and when I reach home about 11 PM, I still have about 10 to 15% of battery left. This is already much better than the Z Flip 3, and with the faster 25-watt fast charging, I no longer had battery anxieties with the Z Flip 4. With all of these improvements in place, Samsung has sadly raised the starting price of the Z Flip 4 to 4,099 ringgit, which to be honest still isn't too bad with a 100 ringgit premium, but hold your horses right before you say this is an expensive phone, because if you manage to get Samsung's pre-order deal, including getting a 600 ringgit instant rebate on top of trading in an old phone and getting some other freebies, it really doesn't feel so expensive anymore for a foldable phone, and I commend Samsung for doing that to get people transition to their foldables. The bottom line, the Z Flip 4 is finally an almost perfect first foldable phone for anyone, and I highly recommend it. So that's all for my review on the Galaxy Z Flip 4. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel because I will be doing a long-term review of the Galaxy Z Flip 4 in the coming weeks as well, and to let you guys know about my thoughts whether this is a good phone for long-term use. So definitely stay subscribed to our channel and be sure to follow our social channels as well. And I'll see you guys in our next video.